All right. I do believe we are on. And here we go again. Participants, I'm going to be joined by Robert Buscemi. Honestly, one of the funniest people I have ever met. So, messing around here, and I'm going to admit him. Live from Hollywood. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I think he's joining us any second.
All right, Adam. I'll do without him.
Hey!
Hey, are my glasses
Oh,
reflective?
I just saw beautiful Janet the Planet running away, helping you with the computer.
I know it. I wouldn't be able to do anything without her. You want to get my frameless one? My lensless one?
Yes.
How are you?
Good. You look marvelous. I love
Thank
what you're wearing.
Thank you. Well, I have to, you and I have a friendly competition going of who can look the most festive and exciting.
In these times, but I remember visiting you in LA, and we were definitely Safari Brothers in our Bahama shirts.
We were.
You are a fashion plate. People know that about you. Cheers.
I always say my personality isn't so hot, so I try to compensate. That's honestly my response several times every day.
You are in Hollywood, California. Well, not technically in the middle of Hollywood, like the outskirts of Hollywood.
Right. I'm close to Hollywood.
I'm going to read a couple of quotes for people who don't know you. This is what other comedians say about you, all right? So I like this. Nick Vatterott says, Willy Wonka taking you on a tour of an M.C. Escher painting. T.J. Miller, Robert is the absurdist polar bear of feathered beached chickens. He basically just took a bunch of your jokes and made a sentence. That's pretty good.
That's right.
Michael Ian Black, a certifiable lunatic, an acerbic cultural critic, and hilarious chronicler of his own idiosyncrasies.
That was very kind of him to say, wasn't it?
Pretty wordy. I like it. And then my favorite one, and this is where we're going to start here. Frank Zappa and Dr. Seuss pilot the spacecraft that is Robert Buscemi.
Who said that?
That was Kylie Kinane.
Kyle Kinane, yeah.
Kyle Kinane, when he said that in 1985, Hans Hennecken of the music scene Schwyz magazine said, "Look, people are the love child of Frank Zappa and Dr. Seuss on acid."
Is that right?
So when I read this thing of you, I'm like, no wonder I find you so funny. We come from the same planet.
I know.
When did you figure out that you were going to be funny? When did you go, you know what? I'm going to do this.
Well, the first thing I did that approximated stand-up was in high school. I mean, freshman or sophomore year, which is when I was, which is our, 10th, 11th grade, 9th, 10th grade.
Yeah. We
would be at the lunch table, a whole bunch of guys, maybe 20 guys. And we were the group, we were a clique in high school, and we would just, at the lunch table, it was just a mayhem, and we would just cut up the whole time. And I gradually became the most, gifted taunter of other people, and I took more taunting than any other people.
Right. Yeah.
So if, for example, I remember one day another guy and I wore the same OP, remember OP sweatshirts and stuff, Ocean Pacific, it was like a surf brand.
Oh, okay. I just think of Oscar Peterson, so you had me there.
So we had we wore to school that day, unplanned, identical sweaters, identical pants, and identical shirts underneath. And it was like the Super Bowl of people making fun of people that day. It was kind of hyped all morning, whispered near people's lockers that this was going to be the huge,
make fun of them all day long.
Yeah, it was like the blowout of the century. And sure enough, we got to the lunch table and it was just on. And for whatever reason, the teachers just let us go because we were harmless enough. We had big mouths, but we weren't mean to people, cruel to people, other than each other occasionally. But that's where I learned to be saucy and salty and entertaining and freewheeling and to shuffle my feet. And, you know, it's like getting forged in fire. It's not easy at all.
Right.
But
And where was this? In America?
Springfield, Ohio.
Ohio.
Springfield, Ohio. It's a small town, not tiny, but 70,000 people.
You must have lived in many places because your accent is not any one place of America. You have an American accent, but I don't even know what that means.
Well, it's sort of small town Ohio is not far from Appalachia and the hills and hillbilly types. And I grew up in small town, I would say middle class America, but when you're in a small town, you grow up among plenty of people from all classes, and some people whose families have lived there for a while just lays into this hillbilly accent that I kind of have.
Yeah, it's really cool. When I first met you, I remember comparing our moms. Your mom was also extremely funny.
Yes.
And a little bit strange, like mine.
Yeah, very, very strange, very funny. She's actually quite polite. People who are told that she's funny are sort of surprised when they meet her because she's quite polite and elegant and sort of dainty and feminine and always well put together. But then she's extremely sly, very sly, and just extremely funny. She's kind of legendary. People just tell stories about her, and yeah, she's very, very funny. Always.
So you started doing a little bit of comedy and then a lot of acting as well. Like as a comedic actor, you're really busy. I want to ask you a few memories. So the show Ray Donovan.
Yes.
That's a big show. Liev Schreiber and John Voight. Did you have any time with them? Did you have any feeling on that set?
I totally did. John Voight is over 80 and very tall. He's like 6'2" or something. Very, very elegant man. He was as nice as could be, came up to me. I talked to him for, 5-10 minutes. And he said, you know, we go pretty easy around here. We just have fun. So, you know, just do what you want to do. It was ultra, ultra nice. Now, America's mad at him because he's a Trump supporter, but he's also an Oscar winner and everything, you know, and I was kind of beside myself. He was absolutely lovely. I remember him in that
politics.
What? No.
Yeah, I met Clint Eastwood. We didn't talk politics either. It's probably a good idea. What about Gracie and Frank? Sam Watterson. Every time I hear his name, I hear tonk tonk from Law and Order.
Yeah. Oh, he was great. It was a really, really silly, funny scene. He was as loose as could be. Just kind of had a sense of the lines. He sort of had more of a sense of the lines than knowing all the lines. He kind of glanced at his script and then he just looked at us and went out of his way to make everybody comfortable. And then we just developed this little comic pattern. You do the scene, you know, you do a scene 12 times, and that's or say 10 times, maybe 12 times average if everything's going right. Yeah. You know, because they got to get it from this angle. They got to get your face. They got to get his face. They got to get both your faces. They got to get all three of your faces. They got to get that other person's face. They got to do it all again. They got to do it this way. They got to do it that way. So you're just doing it again and again and again. And Sam Watterson just couldn't have been nicer. He was just sweet. It felt like we were all just around a dinner table just yucking it up or something. I think the really, 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 really pleasant and normal and sane actors, but the ones that have been at it for a million years, they know to go out of their way to make all the new people relax.
Right.
So they know they can do that by being, you know, like your neighbor or your uncle or your aunt or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Watterson too is he was in so many movies where he always looks sad and he always looks like he's going to cry and you just want to hug the guy. But in that show, he's super funny. So it's like such a departure for what everyone expects of him. Also, Chance was another film you did. Hugh Laurie. Did you get to meet Hugh Laurie?
Yeah. He had a TV show. I met him. I talked to him for 7 or 8 minutes. And it was that uncanny feeling where you're talking to someone really famous and you sort of know all their mannerisms and their facial expressions and even their vocal qualities, even though you don't know the person and they don't know you. So it's almost like you almost feel embarrassed, like have been spying on them. Have you ever had that feeling?
Yeah. You know someone so well, but you don't want to be let down. You don't want the person.
Right.
You don't want. Right? You don't want that person to actually not be a good person. I've thrown a few parties for celebrities where some people that you won't expect to be uptight are super uptight.
Who? No, I'm kidding. I know.
His initials are Tom Hanks, but But here's the thing. But you don't know what happened that day, right? Like, you don't know. It's just an off day for somebody. It doesn't mean that's the person they are. It means that one day you caught somebody, they weren't having a good day.
And then it gets amplified when they do it by 4,000 times. And then these stories go around just because they haven't had their coffee yet and they weren't as perky as you would have liked them to be in your decades of fandom of them.
Yeah. So when I say that story, I always take a step back and go, but I'm not going to go into detail. He was cranky, not in a good mood, but that's all it was.
But he was great. He was the best. I absolutely loved him. But he was a producer on that TV show. And so he kind of gave me some direction that was sort of against what the director had told me, because I was a judge and I actually grabbed the mic a little bit and bent it toward me, because just in stand-up you have this, well, as a singer you know this, you just have, well, and as a DJ you know this, you have a relationship to your microphone. It's like your it's like your hat. If you wear a hat or your glasses, it's a physical item that is a comfort to you as an adult. You can just know how to. So I kind of tweaked it toward me, and the director said, maybe if you're a judge, you actually touch the microphone. And I said, oh, okay, because that's what you say as an actor. Oh, great, I won't touch it. And then Hugh Laurie came up to me. He's like, oh, I loved how you grabbed the thing. Don't listen to him too much. If if you feel it, just grab the microphone. I love that touch. And I was like, I'm going with you.
That's right. He's also a really good singer.
He is.
Piano player and singer. He's really into that New Orleans vibe.
Yeah. I love that stuff.
One of your fans is somebody, because I think you're one of the funniest guys in America, and another person I think is one of the funniest guys in America right now is Pete Holmes.
Yes.
So I saw him in LA doing stand-up. I knew him from some TV stuff, but I mean, you and Pete both on stage, you don't give people much time. Like, it's going to be joke after joke. I'm happy if I laugh 6 times in 15 minutes. But when it's 30 times in 15 minutes, it can start to hurt.
Yeah.
The muscles here.
Yeah.
How do you know Pete Holmes?
Well, we started stand-up at the same time in Chicago in 2002.
Yeah.
I mean, I had done it a tiny handful of times before that, and he had done it a couple tiny handfuls, but I knew him quite well. We started and we just were friends, and we haunted the same shows all the time. And for a few years there, I knew him quite well. And yeah, we are friends. And I knew his first wife, and went to his house, and he house sat my cats a few times. And he's actually even funnier than he lets on when he's performing. I think people will tell you that, because he's one of the most diabolically brilliant people I've ever known. He knows how to calibrate things so well, but his sense of humor is actually darker than he kind of lets on. He is just a killer when he gets on something. And a very, very funny improviser and everything else.
Hey, you won an award once. You won a Chicago Best Comic in Chicago.
I did. Right before I left Chicago in 2009, the Chicago Reader, which I don't know what Toronto's equivalent is.
I guess Now Magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you know how the era of the thick Arts Weekly, where you'd open that thing up and you were just like, I'm living in this insanely wonderful city, Right.
There were like Village Voice, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Village Voice is the
big paper full of good stuff.
Right. Well, in Chicago, it was the Reader, and it was 4 sections, free every week. Now it's like a website with toothpaste commercials that pop up.
It's the same thing here. that big thick paper we used to read is now a website. Yeah.
Am I wrong? It was an era. It was an era. When you open that and went to the music section, you're just page after page, and you're grateful that all the hassles of living in a big city. That's the great feature. So anyhow, they had a very, very, very robust comedy, improv, and acting section. I mean, very robust. They covered everything, you know. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I got picked best stand-up. And you know, it entailed touring the world as a diplomat to indigenous tribes that weren't as good at comedy, and spreading the American way of comedy. No, it was a very nice. It was a very nice honor.
I'm trying. I can never describe you to people. They just have to see what you do. But if, like, Chuck Barris from The Gong Show and Andy Kaufman were hanging out at a poker game with Paul Lynde and Charles Nelson Riley was the bartender, maybe you'd be at that party?
Yes, that's a beautiful mix. That's great. I'm right in there.
Yeah.
And also, my favorite of all time is Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Who just had his 75th birthday a day or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of my favorite of all time. But all those characters, Andy Kaufman, absolutely, and Paul Lynde, and I like...
Charles Nelson Riley was a riot on the show Lidsville.
Yes, absolutely. All those guys. I like, and The Gong Show, I like Showbiz as a very cheerful, perky, silly, goofy, vaudevillian experience where the performer thinks different parts of the show are fantastic than the audience does. I always like that. Right. You know that.
Yeah.
What would you call it?
Paul Lynde would laugh hysterically at his own jokes. He could barely get them out.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of entertainment where Martin Short. More and more and more. I've always loved Martin Short. My mom's a huge fan of Martin Short. Mm-hmm. Did you get the cock?
And his Jiminy Glick character, I just can't get enough. I'll watch it forever.
He's the best. And they say that's what he's like more than that's more what he actually is personally really like than any other character that he plays. But I like that sense of chaotic brilliance, and I like the fact that character where he was an ancient Broadway star who would make up all these songs. Jackson Jr.
Yeah. I know who you mean. I was going to say Jackie Shane. That's a real singer. Yeah. But Jackie something Jr., right. And he'd swing the mic around and really... Yeah.
And he just wouldn't stop long enough for anybody to laugh. Not that people were really knowing how to laugh or what to laugh at, but the fact that he just did that character and did that character and did that character. And you're thinking, we don't even know it's a throwback to so long ago that nobody remembers it, but I like that enthusiasm. I mean, that's kind of why I like Andy.
Was that SCTV? You're talking way back SCTV? With Virgil? Yeah, he had a lot of characters on that show, and the Lounge Guy was one of my favorites. What are some other shows? Did you grow up watching Kids in the Hall?
I like Kids in the Hall very much. I love Saturday Night Live. I loved Eddie Murphy, was my era. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I think it's when everybody's 13 or 14. It was before you have a driver's license and before you're getting invited to the, wild parties, and you just have this moment where your mind is kind of almost an adult mind, but you're confined to your house. And I think that's the era that when I was growing up, everybody sort of was falling in love with Saturday Night Live. But yeah, for me, it was Eddie Murphy, who I think is brilliant. And in fact, Dolomite was absolutely knockout.
Isn't that great? Eddie Murphy back in full form. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. So tell me about the recordings. You have 2 records, Palpable and One Pretty Peacock.
Yeah, that's right.
Those are really classic records. Those are just like the old days when you would buy I'll say it, Bill Cosby, but when you buy an old record and they're in front of an audience. Where were you when you made those records?
Well, the first one was in Chicago, right as I was leaving Chicago in about 2009, and the next one was in LA in about 4 or 5 years later, in a movie theater that they use for stand-up, which was a kind of dubious proposition, but we
Was
happened.
it that little theater where we saw Patton Oswalt together? Not that little one.
No,
That
not that
a fancy
one.
theater.
It was a different one, downtown,
Yeah.
independent movie theater in LA, and got it mic'd up really well and got a good stand-up album out of it. I mean, an album is nice because you solidify. It would be like if you were messing around with a bunch of songs and then you make an album of the songs, and then you just have them out there in the world in a really polished form. So
Yeah.
you get all worked up to it, and you pull out all your jokes, and then you rehearse them and put them in a sensible order, and you string them together. But it was Rooftop Records, and it's 2 50-minute albums. Yeah, they're on Amazon and all that now. And but your sister has kind of gotten interested in my comedy on Facebook, and I only 2 days ago messaged her and said, "Can I mail you CDs? Because I like mailing CDs to people. It appeals to my sense of retroness, you know."
Right.
If they express an interest, I'll just say, "Give me a snail mail address," because we're trying to keep our postal system alive down here. So she's going to get both those CDs in short order because she's.
You have to have a great audience. I mean, I guess, but you're a great comedian. You have to have to do a record like this. If you're not killing, it doesn't always work.
Yeah,
so did you Chicago, you were already at the top of your game on your way out. When you get to LA, were you comfortable in that theater? I'm just trying to get the process, because I have no idea what it's like to be a comedian making a live album.
Well, I couldn't have done it the year that I moved. It took a few years where you're in the community and you're performing and you're getting your chops together and you're getting some word of mouth. For me, it's always word of mouth for me, because I'm playing a different game than most other comedians. Most comedians don't play a character, and I kind of play a character. And so for me, word of mouth starts to percolate. And then when people are kind of clued into what I'm doing, then they're on board. And once you get that momentum going and people know you're making an album, well, you scare up your audience and your press machine and all that, and they're in the house, and then they're on board with you. It's like making a TV show or something. They kind of know that this is a special night, and they're, gonna get your best stuff, and that they're kind of, it's like the difference between a Saturday morning run and a 10K race where people are cheering for you to,
I'm going to nod, and I have no idea what that is. I don't do a lot of racing. Hey, is comedy different from place to place? I mean, Chicago and LA would only be a slight difference, I think, because they're big metropolitan cities. But do you kind of change a little bit if you go to, the Midwest or some other area of America when you're doing jokes?
Well, good question. I don't find that to be the case. I find every single night to be different. Every single configuration of audience is different, has its exact own calibration and sensibilities. And so sometimes you think you're going to do fantastic at a super hip alternative club in LA, and you only do so-so. Sometimes you're out in the boonies and you think, oh, these rubes will never get me. And they're more deranged and crazy than anything you see in the city. So for me, it's always a brand new project, kind of. It's always been my experience.
You are a Segway enthusiast.
Yes.
I read that. You ride a Segway once in a while.
I have ridden a Segway. It's like magic. It's like being in a dream. You just think your way here and there and the other place. It's just astounding. Have you ridden one?
No, I haven't. And you wearing that helmet makes me think it's hilarious. I should probably get knee pads too or something, but I want to. I think it's a logical, ridiculous thing to do.
I don't think I've ever been more impressed with technology than I was riding a Segway.
Anyway,
Unbelievable.
you're a boating enthusiast, but I like how you wrote engine boating. You're not sailing around the world.
I'm not much of a sailor, no.
Ice skating, that's odd for somebody living in Hollywood. You
Oh,
enjoy ice skating.
Well, we have rinks. We got an ice rink in Pasadena. We got a rink in Glendale.
Yeah.
And I love my turns around. Just go and just putter around. I can do it very, very elegant loops around the loop, you know. No speed. I never played hockey. I'm not a Canadian as such, but
Right.
I love ice skating.
Maybe just more graceful.
Yeah, that's good if I can do it.
Cranston or yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you, not a lot of people know this about you, but I have seen you on Spy Day on the dance floor. You pull some cool shapes on the dance floor. You are a bit of a dancer.
Thank you. Well, I have such a self-deprecating spirit and a sort of young, you know, my spiritual age is extremely young. You know, people say young souls and old souls. I'm kind of a brand new soul. So people are startled that when I'm actually physically competent at something. So it feels like a contrast that I'm a good dancer. You would think I would be a goofy dancer, and I can be goofy for entertainment purposes, but when I get into it, I'm skilled, James.
Yeah. So I understand that you and your wife, Janet the Planet, you guys like to dress for each other because you're in quarantine since March. So you actually do, though, you get up and have a nice tea by outside with some clothes on. You make an effort.
Yeah. Every single day we got these damn clothes. You may as well wear them. It's like shaving, or I'm talking to you, who's quite unshaven, but you got the hair to pull it off.
Oh, but at least I've trimmed a little bit. It was like full Grizzly Adams for a while.
Well, you gotta feel like, kind of, especially as an artist, you just have to shake off the dust. If you haven't bathed and you're just in a t-shirt that doesn't make your shoulders look good, you have to do certain rituals to keep your ass jovial.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you gotta pull it together for your people, and it'll put you in a better mood to interact with other people. And I don't know,
Tell me about the nature stuff. I know my sister discovered you from these little clips. You're going for walks, and then you just start, I'm sure it's all ad-libbing, you're just walking around pointing at things and being ridiculous but funny and engaging. You really could have a TV special doing that.
Thank you. Well, that's my Instagram account. If anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, it's just my name and Instagram, Robert Buscemi. And it's totally improv, and I adore improv. I just love it so much. It's the most fun thing you can ever do. If anybody ever wants to take a class or anything, by all means, it's so available. And for me, I'm the character. I'm sort of channeling my dad, who has this way of both being the world's least good with directions person and kind of the most flustered and flabbergasted person out in the world, and wanting to appear the most confident and well-directed person in the world. So he's just talking it's just talking out of his ass completely. And when I do that character, I don't even know how the sentences are going to end when I start them. And it's just I can't tell you the feeling of joy to just turn on your cell phone and just go at it and just go. It's just so liberating to be that big of a jackass on purpose and without any plan.
And especially now, because there's not a lot, you're not going to be performing for a little while. So having fun with nature, being at home and writing scripts, like there are still things you can be doing, but it must be
a
little different.
Yeah. I mean, kind of 3 weeks into it or something, I was just feeling that oppression that we all still feel sometimes. And it breaks in different ways, different points. But I was really struggling just with distress for humanity. maybe 3 weeks in, and I was journaling. I was like, I'm just going crazy. And then I thought, daggone it, I got to start posting comedy videos. I have them. You know, my stand-up is usually tiny little jokes, 20 seconds. And I thought, I'm just going to post it every day. And I wrote that. This is 2 months ago now. And I just said, I'm going to post some comedy bit every day. And I get extra points in my mind if they're improvised or whatever, as opposed to a stand-up bit. The stand-up bits are fun, but they're already in the bank.
Yeah.
If I can create a new one, then it gives me, I mean, I'm wired to want to make jokes all day. That's how I was in school. I'm in the back of class. I'm writing, you know, taking notes and like on the sly showing them to my friends to crack them up. That was my whole, and I'm still that way. I want to make little jokes all the time, every day. So putting it out in the morning during the pandemic, and it just gives me something to, it gives me a little artistic loop where this person will laugh or this person will like it, and I'll see this person, I'll think, good, I got, you know, I got him over there. They'll make a joke, make fun of me in the comments, and it just gives me, it just makes you less lonely, you know, to have that.
Right. Well, what happened is after I saw a couple of your stand-up bits, I actually went to YouTube and watched the entire hour-long show.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, which is hilarious, but it's a great idea. You're doing a service because we all need a laugh right now. And I really hope you'll come up here in 2021.
Oh, I will. We will. We promise.
Okay. Because I've told Mark Breslin all about you, and we got to get you up here in a comedy club doing your thing. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Everyone, I'm going to have a big blurb underneath where people can find your stuff so they can all have a good laugh.
Great. Thank you, James. It was so much fun.
Man. See you, Robert.